Hey, good evening, everyone. The James Madison University Dukes with a huge 73-68 win in the semifinals of the Sun Belt Championships. Dukes get win number 30 on the season, and more importantly, have an opportunity now to secure a Sun Belt Championship and an opportunity to advance to the NCAA tournament. Taylor Atkins joining us tonight, and Chandler Fortune stepping in because we're down two teammates today, but a rough day in the Sun Belt, in the sound off world with some challenges off the field, but wishing our teammates well. I know they were watching the game. Taylor, man, a game that came down to the end in dramatic fashion. The Dukes, though, one of the things I want to say is I heard the announcers during the broadcast mention that this team hadn't been tested during the season, hadn't had those moments where they've been in tight ball games. I'm not sure how much JMU basketball they watched this season, but I think one of the hallmarks of this team has been the ability to react and not bend in these moments and find a way to come out on top. A really gutsy performance. I'll go to you now. What a performance, though, by Noah Friedel. 28 points. Incredible on the boards tonight, and some big moments for this team to get the Dukes into a Sun Belt Championship game against somebody who's not named Appalachian State. Your initial reaction after tonight's game?
I was trying to zero in because there were, over the last 48 hours, two of the games that we played, all of our guys really seem to be playing some of their best basketball right now. TJ Pickerstaff has looked incredible, but I hate to single him out because Friedel is getting rebounds against guys that are 5 or 6 inches taller than him. We can Michael Green, Xavier Brown. I mean, Carey, everyone on this team seems to kind of be playing some of their best basketball of the season. The teams seem well scouted. But, you know, talking about the announcers and talking about having not been tested, listen, I've talked about this before. I'm very slow to criticize the industry of college athletics and what goes into it, because I know there's a lot of times where criticism comes just out of not knowing the reasons why. I don't understand why the announcers are not there.
Yeah, and I was going to make a point. I have the pleasure of having the opportunity to talk to Noah Ferrari on a very regular basis, who I think many of our listeners and watchers know firsthand just how much of a professional he is and how great of a job he does with the Ferrari and Smith podcast. No one's more frustrated, I think I guarantee could say, than some of these announcers who are doing this under incredibly challenging circumstances. I can say it's somebody who's done a lot of broadcast work. This is not on them. This is on the decision makers who budget for these gentlemen that come in there.
I understand.
It's really hard, but I know. But there's been a lot of
what I want to talk about is it's not the announcers themselves and the work that's going into the game. They're seeing the angles that we're seeing. You know, there's things that they are just blatantly missing, and I'm hearing this more from people. We're going to get some people on here that were at the game. More from people that are at the game saying, you know, there's just things that you can't see that the TV camera's not picking up. Also from the production value, I mean, just the camera work is shoddy at times. And again, this is not anyone working the cameras, but just the lighting,
the lighting has been atrocious.
I can't tell you how many times the score, especially the second half of this game, the score was wrong. They're adding 3 points to one team when they should have added it to the other team. And then a minute later, they're correcting the score without anyone scoring. And I'm having to go to my ESPN app just to get the correct score.
There was a point in the game when the announcer said there was a 14-point lead for JMU. And I thought I was having a stroke.
Yes, and I had to go back. Right.
I'm not really, I can tell you, I'm not good at math, but in that moment, I was like, I'm not that bad.
There was a 2-minute portion there where the math was just getting all thrown off. But I noticed that a couple times through a couple other games, and just someone, I don't know who made this point, so shout out whoever I saw this from on Twitter. But this is the time where all of the college basketball world is tuning into you. I mean, everyone from, you know, the ASUN to the Ohio Valley to all these smaller conferences, everyone's looking. People are tuning into the Sun Belt for the first time all year. And I've seen a lot of national branded blogs and accounts on social media just tuning in and saying, man, this doesn't make the Sun Belt look good. And I say that saying the Sun Belt has done everything first class for the 2 years that we've been in this. And a lot of the changes that I'm being critical of seem to be changes that can be implemented. But I don't want to harp too much because there's a lot that I don't know that we don't know. You mentioned Noah Frary did a great game with our girls earlier today, and has been doing great. So it's not the people It's just the overall structure of it. And the other thing I'm just going to be really critical about, I hate to criticize refs, hate to really criticize refs after we win, but man, that no call, well, I'm sorry, it was called a block when it should have been a charge against Snow Ferry. And then the TJ Bickerstaff
all ball.
Well, I don't even know if you're right. It was all ball, but it was all ball with fingertip. I mean, he barely even got his palm on the ball, let alone get close to a foul. So I'm still kind of worked up both on the opportunity to really showcase JMU and Sun Belt basketball. We're not at our A game. The refs have been atrocious, especially in that game earlier today with the women and Louisiana. But man, it feels good to be in the championship. It feels good to have both.
And that's a good segue though for feeling good about being in the championship, because we have a special guest who's going to pop on who can tell us exactly what it feels like to be in that arena when the horn went to 0 and the Dukes are advancing into the Sun Belt Championship. And it's one of our favorite guests and favorite fans of the show, Brooke Boyd and her father, Elliot. Guys, first of all, happy Sunday night. It's 10:52 p.m. and we're cheering on a Dukes victory, their 30th of the season. First of all, take us in the arena from what it was like being a fan in there. Paint the picture for those who weren't able to make the trip to Pensacola, and how many JMU fans are there, and just take us into what the atmosphere was like tonight.
It's been pretty incredible tonight. JMU Nation's definitely shown up this year, but more than last year. They definitely have made the trip both to support the men and the women this year. I'd say there's probably, 200 or 300 of us down here at least. so pretty good showing.
To take us into that last 2 minutes, though, when the outcome was definitely in doubt, I know my heart rate was higher. I'm sure people were checking their Apple Watches to understand what was going to happen. But take us inside the arena in terms of what the atmosphere was like and what the mood was among the fans who were in purple inside that arena until it finally did go to triple zeros and the Dukes get the victory.
It was a little nerve-wracking. I couldn't even watch free throws because you know how we do with free throws. You can ask him. I was turning around. I couldn't watch. But everybody was on their feet cheering. The guys they had it in the bag. They had it.
So now we look forward to tomorrow night, an opportunity for JMU to get an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. Have a feeling the number of purple-clad fans in that arena are going to grow over the next 18 hours, or how many? I guess 22 hours until game time tomorrow. What's the atmosphere among the fan base like that's down there? Kind of paint the scene for what the pregame atmospheres have been like, and what kind of the surrounding kind of environment's been like for this championship with so many people making the trip down to Pensacola.
Well, I don't know if you can hear, but everybody was leaving the arena. Everybody was souped up for, of course, JMU fans. So everybody's hyped up, ready to go. But pregame, everybody's kind of hanging out and cheering and anticipation of the wins. So it's been fun.
Well, we know you two are as diehard as they get in the JMU sports landscape. If there's a game for JMU, you guys are in attendance. You're the best of what this franchise's fan base is all about and what JMU is all about. So I just wanted to say, from my perspective, thanks for making the trip, because you guys are what pushed the energy and the wind in the sails of this team. Taylor, you have anything for Brooke and her dad?
We've highlighted the Boyd family before on here. We've never had the chance to have them on, but I do want to take this moment to remind everybody, when we're talking about who knows JMU basketball more than anybody, I want to give you, because I always butcher this statistic, but talk about how many games has the Boyd family missed in the 4 or 5 decades that y'all have been JMU fans?
Probably less than 10 for me.
About the same, probably.
And that's men and women. Holidays. There was a snowstorm one time. I mean, the Boyd family deserves to have, when we talk about JMU fan, they are on another level, and I just appreciate their friendship. I appreciate their fandom. I appreciate you guys being down there and cheering on everybody, and go Dukes.
Go Dukes.
Go Dukes is right. Rest up. Hydrate.
We got a doubleheader tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. 2 championships, and we're going to get into both of those now. But guys, enjoy the rest of the night. Please send our best to everyone who's there, and we'll be all watching tomorrow as you guys again try to push us through into the championship for both of us, and 2 NCAA berths for both of our teams. So enjoy the evening, enjoy the experience. This is a special run for both of our programs.
Yes, it is.
All right, go Dukes. And with that, Taylor, before we look forward towards the the championship games tomorrow for the men's team. Let's recap, though, what happened across the JMU landscape today for both basketball teams. The JMU women's basketball also had a semifinal earlier today, a game in which JMU came in with an opportunity to move on and to face a Marshall team that really has been a freight train this year, except for when the Dukes did defeat them during the regular season. JMU comes into that game with some question marks going on what they would be able to do, if they'd be able to continue to maintain the momentum that they've had in this tournament. And what do? They go out and get a 64-54 win over Louisiana, giving JMU a chance now to go back-to-back in their first 2 years in the Sun Belt. What do you think when you look at this women's team, what's in front of them, in a daunting task in a Marshall team that has been dominant this season? But again, JMU was able to find a way to beat them on their court in Huntington. Taylor, you're muted at the moment.
Sorry about that. For some people that don't know, we've for whatever reason we got a puppy today, so I'm trying to mute it while
a very adorable puppy, I will say.
Yes, and Dolly, Dolley, after Mrs. Madison. Anyway, this Marshall team is good, and I don't think I appreciated how good they were until kind of looking at their just their results and everything going into this Sun Belt tournament. And obviously that first game in the tournament where they put up over 100 points, they're scary good. And they're a team that matches up with us well. It's going to be a tough battle tomorrow. And I believe, I can't imagine them not being the favorites going into tomorrow, but to your point, we split the series with them this year. And JMU, we're playing some of our, I said this about the minute. It sounds so cliche. We're playing some of our best basketball right now. Yeah, we're a little banged up, and so the effort that we've put in, I don't see this game being a blowout either way. I see it being very similar to this Texas State game that we played tonight for the men. But the women have proven why they were the preseason favorites in this conference. Despite some of the setbacks, despite some of the injuries, they've continued to show they are one of the best Sun Belt teams. And I hope tomorrow night they prove it with punching their ticket to the tournament.
Yeah, Peyton McDaniel with 13 points in the game. Koslova also with 12 off the bench for JMU. So they're positioned well. You never know in championship games what could happen. But again, this is one of those games where you're seeing the top of the conference getting a chance to compete for a championship. Just as a fan of sports, that's what you want to see. And it should be exciting, as that will be an afternoon contest. And then we will all pivot to the main event in the evening, the JMU men's basketball team taking on a team that I'm not sure any of us thought would happen when we looked at this bracket. Didn't expect to see them make their journey through the tournament as a number 4 seed, but they do. A team that JMU did beat during the regular season. What do you see this matchup, and as an opportunity? We were all afraid about App State, a team that beat us twice in the regular season. It just didn't seem to be a matchup that favored us. But this is an Arkansas State team that has been playing well of late, and is going to be another tough test for this JMU program.
They are, and I was surprised how well we did at Arkansas State. If you're just looking at the box score, you see that it was a 4-point win, but we were up 13 points under 2 minutes in that game and kind of let our foot off the gas. So that score doesn't really reflect how dominating our team was on the road. That was one of the bigger crowds Arkansas State had for the year. I think the entire football team was in the student section in the end zone. And so it was a good atmosphere. It was a tough road team. We seemed to really match up with them well. And again, the score the first time and only time we played them this season does not really reflect how well we did against them. Having said that, it's tournament time. They took down a really good Appalachian State team. And I again, this is another game where I would be shocked to win it by double digits. But there's also part of me, this Texas State team probably scared me more tonight than the Arkansas State team does tomorrow. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but this Texas State team is finally healthy in a position they really haven't been all year. They were not an 11 seed. I know they were an 11 seed, but this team got much better at the end of the year. They gave Appalachian State their last loss prior to the tournament. So this Texas State game had me a lot more nervous. And we came out, not only did we dominate Texas State really in the first half, but even in the second half when they made their run, we not only showed the effort to continue to battle and come out ahead, but you saw there was a play at the end when they were inbounding the ball, and you heard Coach Byington on the hot mic. I mean, just reading out exactly how that play was going to go. The announcers caught that, and it was exactly as the play went. So the scouting has been great. The effort has been great. We're playing some of our best basketball. And again, to that 30 wins, this is why tonight was so important. Regardless of statistics and precedents and history, and no one with 29 wins had ever been left out of the tournament, 29 and 30, it looks a lot different on paper. And you're got to think a lot of people in that selection committee room are not going to have watched a lot of JMU basketball, are not going to think very highly of the Sun Belt. And so that 29-30 number makes a big, big difference. I wouldn't go as far to say as we're definitely in.
Yeah, but it is a big difference. And losing your championship versus a semifinal loss to an 11 seed, I think it does matter.
And one other thing that I thought kind of went against us, and at the end of the day, it's not going to make a big deal, and especially win and get in. But, we're playing the lowest seed in all these games. We played an 11 seed Texas State. We played a 10 seed Marshall that upset the 7 seed Georgia State. So one of my hopes with our net to kind of break into that top 50 was we're going to play some good tournament teams here. And
so I want to respond real quick to John Butler's comment, because the good news is tomorrow's championship broadcast will be produced by ESPN. So ESPN will be bringing their production crews. They'll be bringing their announcers. So for ESPNU for the women's game, and then ESPN2 for the nightcap. So the picture quality, I assume, will be significantly better. Hopefully the lighting is better. I do think that is a challenge in that space, just from talking to some people on the ground. Is it's just not the most conducive environment. It's a minor league hockey rink. During
that's the
most
thing,
of the time.
Slipping.
Yeah.
I mean, the slipping.
Yeah, and it's got. I've talked to some people, said it's really cold in the arena as well, because of the ice that's underneath that floor, and you get the condensation, everything else.
Well, and Horton hit that baseline pretty hard on one of the plays near the end of the game where he just slipped right out of bounds. I mean,
and I want to say one thing before I want Chandler's perspective on just what he saw in the game, but I do think the thing for me that really stood out tonight is when you look at the box score. TJ Bickerstaff only 7 points, Julian Wooden with 4, Terrence Edwards only 8 points in tonight's game. And the Dukes still find a way to win. And that's with that performance from Noah Friedel with 28 points, continuing to just find ways in that game to make an impact, even when he wasn't scoring. His ability to make some big plays on the boards, huge tonight for JMU. But you have to think you're going to get a bigger performance from Terrence Edwards in a championship game. But even Terrence made some big shots down the stretch when he only had 4 points. He comes up with 2 shots in the late stages of the game that were massive for this program. But also just credit to the Dukes for making their foul shots down the stretch, which I know, Chandler, you pointed out was really huge. Chandler, what did you see in this game just from an X's and O's perspective of what JMU was doing right, and maybe some areas that they would need to improve on going into the championship?
Well, I think the main thing I took away was Texas State early in the game left a lot of points out there at the free throw line. I think they finished the game as a team. Were 13 of 18 from the free throw line, but I mean they missed 4 or 5 of those early on.
And some layups too that kind of spun out. That I think we were fortunate to not have go their way.
But I mean, I think that was the main point, was the free throws early on. Was a big takeaway. I thought in the second half for JMU, I think they did a good job of kind of weathering you heard it on the broadcast, they were switching in and out of man and zone. I think JMU, you noticed they struggled a little bit when they went to that zone. It gave JMU a little bit of problems. So props to Texas State for figuring that out and staying in it. I think that when you get to March, I mean, these are the types of games you got to find a way to win. When those, like you said, you don't have big number wise from Bickerstaff and Edwards, you need that other guy to step up and just muck it up and dirty up the game and just find a way to hold on and win the game. And that's what March is all about.
Yeah,
and that's what happened today.
I think that's been a talking point all year about the strength of this team and why we think they can do some damage if they do get in the tournament. It's just the depth of this roster, whether it's Michael Green coming up with a big play, whether it's Xavier Brown. There have been
that was a huge 11 points by Xavier Brown.
Absolutely.
Like
But that's what this team has the ability to do. Is there's people in this lineup that can make an impact at different when their studs aren't having their best night. This team has found a way. I do think there is a benefit from having a hard fought game going into tomorrow. This team's going to be focused. They know maybe they were fortunate enough to escape tonight, and they're going to go into a game now, win and you're advanced. That's where it's never more clear than like a game 7 in the NHL or NBA when you have an opportunity to win and move on to a championship and get into the big dance. You're going to have everybody's best. You're going to have everybody's focus. And you have to think Mark Byington likes his opportunity that's in front of this team. And again, to your point, this is a historic run for this franchise, 30 wins on the season. And this is what we've all dreamed as a part of this season. We're starting in football season, the magical run that we've had, the success of lacrosse and others. But one of the things that was circled from day one when we looked at the athletic calendar was, man, what could we do if we got an NCAA tournament berth? And it's all in front of us. And if you had started off at the beginning of the season to say, 30 wins and a chance to go on to the NCAA tournament, I think a lot of us not only would have probably thought it was crazy to think it was impossible, but to sign up for this in this moment is what we all ask for as sports fans. And it should be one hell of a night starting at 8:30 tomorrow on ESPN2. Again, another national television opportunity for this athletics department.
Well, and I think one thing that I'm interested to see is how Arkansas State comes out tomorrow night off of that high of that last second shot.
Yeah.
Hitting that bucket, you weren't expected to win that high. Like how much of that is a layover tomorrow? I'll be interested to see how they start off tomorrow night.
Great point for Jesse Green. 9 for 9 from the free throw line for Noah Ferrari. For Noah Friedel. That really is the difference in the game. When you come down the stretch.
My question, if you're the Arkansas State coach or really any coach going forward in the postseason, how do you prepare for JMU? I mean, when you look at their starting five, every one of those guys has had 2 or 3 games this year that it's like they're playing first team all conference ball. And then when you look at the guys coming off the bench like Carey and Randleman and Green, Green Brown, but both of them are, all conference for starting point guard level caliber players. It becomes really hard to plan for them, especially when you got guys like our 6'8" Wooden just shooting threes. If I'm a coach, I'm incredibly frustrated at how difficult it is to kind of pinpoint who are we going to hone in on, because Terrence Edwards, player of the year, obviously, but he can have a game like he did tonight where the spotlight wasn't on him, but he still was so important at just taking the attention off the other guys. I'm trying not to sound too cliche and too purple tinted when I'm looking at this team, but it's not just the guys that are coming off the bench. It's also those fresh legs. So some of these games where I've seen like teams kind of hang with us in the beginning, I feel like we're doing this line change where we're bringing in 4 or 5 guys that are, just as good as the 4 or 5 guys that are starting the game. And so we're continuing putting fresh legs out there on the defense. Anytime Coach Byington puts on that full court press, I know we're going to get a 4-6 point bump. So I'm excited about tomorrow, but man, 30-3, that it's hard to put into words.
Well, and how about, I thought that you mentioned Carey, like those quick 4 points he had when he came in the second half, where they clearly found something on that, where they're coming up too high and they're just leaving the back door wide open for them. I think that's something will be interesting to see tomorrow if they go to that a little bit earlier. Also, just real quick, I know we're talking about JMU's win, but what was Arkansas State thinking on that? Like, they got lucked out that he made that bucket. Like, why is that the last shot? Why? He was clearly just trying to draw a foul and he didn't get it. And it was a lucky shot. And they're lucky to be playing tomorrow, in my opinion.
But man, what a shot. What a moment.
Yeah, I know. What a shot.
And that's the beauty of March Madness is just, sometimes even when you don't deserve it, you get it. And man, it fell. The one thing I want to say about this team, though, that I've noticed all season, I didn't miss a single game watching this year, was it does seem like there's a part of every game where we go through a stretch where we seem to just love to chuck up either some maybe less than desirable threes or turnover happy and just some sloppy stretches of basketball where lesser teams might fold, where you might let an 8-0 run become a 12-0 run or 14 points. And it's happened at times, but this team just seems to find a way to click back in, to lock in, whether it's out of a timeout, whether it's out of a media break. They have found a way to continue to get back to their game and seemingly be unfazed and unflappable in these moments. And that's the mark of a championship team. Again, when you're tested, how do you respond? And it bodes well going into tomorrow, and bodes well if this team is lucky enough to advance past that. But Taylor, I just wanted to ask you, just as now we do have obviously time before tomorrow night's game. We've tried to point out on all of our programs about the importance of enjoying the moment and enjoying what this means for the athletic department, especially during a time when we're looking for our next athletics director. And as we say, congratulations and thank you to Jeff Bourne's contributions. Jeff Bourne gets one more moment on national TV again tomorrow night with this team in a championship game in a year of just memorable moments for JMU athletics. What do you think Jeff Bourne's thinking in the back of his mind? Can't think of a better way to go in from a send-off perspective than to have his team in the NCAA tournament, potentially both men's and women's in the NCAA tournament. It's a pretty special day in the athletics department for all of those, not just the senior administrators, but the media staff, the support staff, the trainers, the equipment staff. And this is a really special moment for all. And you got a chance to be a part of some of these runs in your career in athletic support. Is this is a full department experience and a full department victory.
Yeah, I mean, for everything to be hitting all at once, if you're Jeff Bourne, you announce, his retirement goes public before the season starts. Almost all of your fall sports go to the NCAA tournament. Your men's basketball team is ranked; they're 30 wins. Your women's basketball team is one game away from going back to the tournament and winning its second consecutive Sun Belt championship. You've got your spring sports on a roll. I mean, softball dominated against a good Binghamton team. Binghamton. Help me out with that word. Binghamton, right?
Yeah.
The softball. But I mean, that's a team that we've played in the NCAA tournament before in the past. I think we hosted them when we hosted the softball regionals. And so softball is on a roll. Baseball, you got to love the game of baseball where you go extra innings the first game against East Tennessee, beat them. You win 22-6 the second game. And then you come one run short of beating them again today. They were 10-4 or 10-3 going into the series. So that was a good East Tennessee State game. In East Tennessee State team. And then women's lacrosse, a tough loss. It's hard to win in College Park. And I think here's the thing as JMU fans is we have gotten so good at all of our sports hitting all at once in 1 year that no one is actually disappointed in the Maryland game other than probably our women's lacrosse team.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those points like where we've almost gotten to the point when a JMU team loses, period, it's like, oh man, what are we doing? And it would be really hard across the board, across all programs to replicate what we have done this year moving forward. I think all of these teams are championship caliber. I think all of these teams going forward can go to the NCAA tournament, but we're really running on all cylinders here. And I mean, this is the most deserving send-off that an athletic director like Jeff Bourne, and I know if you've worked in the industry, you understand how revered and respected he is from every school, from the P5 down to the smallest Division I college. They know Jeff Bourne. They know what JMU has done. Probably any criticism that has probably been lobbed on Jeff Bourne in the program over the last couple years or last decade was, man, I really think JMU could have capitalized a lot earlier. I think by them holding out, it's going to come back to bite them. And Jeff and JMU is proving that it isn't. I mean, we are well prepared, well suited, well resourced to be having the run and the success that we're having in the Sun Belt. So not only are we having this success at the end of Jeff's career, but the cherry on top is kind of proving that we were right all along to kind of do it the way we did it instead of making some of the jumps as quick as we did. So kudos to Jeff, kudos to the entire athletic department. You guys, and even I, don't realize how hard they work to get to where everything is. So That's I can't say much more about that.
And I'll just say my last thing, because it's 11:15 on Sunday night. We've got work tomorrow, but we also got to get ready for two big games. Shout out to the fans who made the trip to Pensacola. Like they have been noticeable on the broadcast. We've had the pleasure of given some photos and videos sent back to us by some fans in the stands, and we've been posting and sharing on our social accounts. Jake Coons, Way. Others who have been, Barry Sadamond and others who have been texting, photos and videos. First of all, we want to say thank you, but what's come through in those things that are coming to us is just how much fun everybody's having there, how enjoyable of an experience, and again, how athletics continues to provide venues for us all to get together and kind of extend those moments where we all have an escape and a break from the troubles of life, and everybody who's down there is relishing what is a special run, because you never know when these are going to happen. They're never guaranteed for any of us, and so congratulations to everybody there. Another shout out to the pep band, the cheerleaders, Duquettes who have been on site. Obviously you've heard them on the broadcast making a big impact, and that just shows this is, again, not just the players on the court, but everybody that surrounds them in helping to create a great atmosphere, an atmosphere that will only be more intense for the championship games tomorrow. As I'm sure there's some people maybe logging on to Delta and American Airlines and some other sites right now, seeing if they can catch an early flight down to Pensacola, because what a day it could be for JMU athletics as a whole. Taylor, any final thoughts tonight before we sign off and get ready for tomorrow?
Just mapping out kind of what the next week's going to look for, not only basketball at JMU, but sound off. So, we're going to have the championship game tomorrow night. We'll probably have some sort of quick reaction one way or the other. But in terms of our regular show,
take that to the bank.
Right.
You will be here.
We're still kind of planning what next Sunday will look like, because you have Selection Sunday. Our regular show, which does air at 8:00, will be after Selection Sunday has made its selections. So stay tuned to our social media as we kind of map out what next week's show looks like, because a lot's going to happen between now and when we do our next show. And there will be a lot to talk about in terms of what is JMU's future, where are they going, how do people get there? But there's a lot going on. So not just stay tuned to JMU Sound Off, but I would say every other JMU account that's covering JMU throughout this run is going to have a lot of good information, especially, and I can't stress this enough because this is the thing that drove me crazy when I worked at JMU. Please stay tuned to the official JMU accounts as it regards or relates to any information that comes out about postseason, where, what, and how. I promise as soon as they know the information, it will be posted publicly. So this is, just kind of like with the bowl game situation when it came to tickets and travel and everything. There was a lot of people kind of guessing and making assumptions that kind of seemed more credible, and it caused more chaos and confusion. So stick to those official JMU accounts. They will have the information as early as it's possibly available for the public.
And to those who we have a question when the game times are. So let's start with the women. They will be in the Sun Belt Championship game at 2 p.m. and that is going to be on ESPNU. My understanding is that game should also stream on the ESPN app for those or YouTube TV. So
ESPN Plus,
many different ways you can catch that. And then the men's game will be on ESPN2. That is a 7:00 tip off from Pensacola, and a game that you'll have, once again, national implications, national eyeballs on that. And that's Eastern time that Carol points out. So for fans on the East Coast wondering, 2 p.m. Eastern, as well as 7 p.m. ESPNU for the women, ESPN2 for the men. And again, all that information will be posted on the JMU men's basketball Twitter account, the JMU women's basketball account. And then finally, my just last point, thank you to everybody tuned in tonight. Somebody who's looking at the numbers, this is the most we've ever had on one of these streams before. We're going to reiterate, we're just the fans, just like you. We're enjoying this ride, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to share this experience with each and every one of you. Thank you to everybody commented. Thank you to Brooke and her dad for lending their voice to this conversation. It's fun to be on this ride with you, and again, as always, we are very humbled and grateful for the opportunity to host this platform, and looking forward to what will be a great day tonight, a great evening tonight, and a great day tomorrow. Shout out to our sponsors, Montpelier Collective, Skyline Financial Partners, as well as Where's Woody. And with that, go Dukes. We'll see you tomorrow night. JMU women's basketball, JMU men's, a big day in the history of JMU athletics. Go Dukes.